Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about how to write write-back functionality within the Spotfire. So far I don't see, I've been reading through a couple of articles and a couple of documentation through some blogs and by some professionals. So actually today I'm going to make a video how to actually write back from the database, from the Spotfire. Which what I mean is, like, you should be able to send the data to the database by clicking a button within the Spotfire, and then read the same data what you have entered into the database into the Spotfire. So this is a very good functionality what Spotfire is providing to us. So which means that there are some scenarios where you would like to create a forms within the Spotfire, and you would like to submit those forms back to the database. So in that case, this write back functionality will be really useful, right? So this is not just for the forms, but basically based on the data marking. Let's say when you mark some data and then the specifically marked data you want to send it to into the database, so you can do that too. So let's not waste this time and just we'll see. We will create this functionality within the Spotfire. So the step one, before doing that, we need to have a database table to load the data, right? So we need to have a table. So we have this, I have created this test database with a couple of dummy tables in it. So now I would like to create a sample, I would like to say user registration form. Okay, so I would like to create the table. So the easiest way to create the table is, like, I would like to go here and right click on the table. So I'm clicking on table. So I'm just giving the first name, and then I would like to give the varchar this 20, and my last name would like to give the same. Actually no one will have the numeric values so I just wanted to use nchar. I just used nchar here, right? So I'll put 30, and I'll use the same data type here: first name, last name, and email ID. So here we would like to use varchar because email ID may contain both alphanumerical and special characters. So, and then first name, last name, and what else? It's a password we would like to enter. So the password would be again varchar with 50 length. So I would like to give some ID, which should be an auto increment, and this should be integer because IDs always should be in the numbers. So I would like to create an auto increment for that, so which is by default increase by 1 by 1. I would like to make the primary key. So now I have this, I would like to move this ID in the first, so it should be always on the top, right? So ID, first name, last name, email ID, and the password. So you know what, let me give the gender as well, gender, right? So given the gender, so this should be some character of, I'm going to give as M or F, which is male and female, right? So I'm just going to give it as a 2. So let me save this table, and I'll call this user registration table. So users is going to register, so it's not from website, so users is going to register through the Spotfire, right? So so now we have this table. Let's see, I'll just refresh this table. We can see this table has been created here, and we see this columns ID has created with primary key with integer and not null. So actually I don't want to set, I don't want this form to be filled without sending any data, so I just do not want to allow any nulls, right? So there should be some sort of data has to be process. So I'm gonna save this again. So it's not letting me save because I created the table. So what I can do here is simply I can right click in draw and create a new window editor. I'll just say not null, not null, not null, not null. Some data has to be passed, so that's why we need to enter not null. So I'm just going to close this table without saving this here. Okay, so let me run this now. See, it ran successfully. Let's refresh this table again. Refresh and then expand and then expand, not null, not null. So data has to be passed, right? So now we will keep this script open as it is. Now we will quickly so there are multiple ways to enter to do the writeback functionality. So the functionality which I'm going to use is by creating a stored procedure for this table to insert the data, and then we are going to use the stored procedure within the Spotfire, right? So let me quickly create a new query editor. So I would like to say that as create procedure, I can call it as proc within the SQL Server, or I can enter procedure too. So create procedure, I'll say sp actually sp user registration form, right? So this is my user registration form, and I'm going to give a parameter here. I'm going to call first name as fn first name, and I would like to give as nchar of 30. I can see those what data types I was given here, and then comma. I think comma is needed. Let's see. I don't think so, but let's try. So last name nchar of 30, and then at the rate of email and where char of 50, and then at the rate of password I just give pass and where char of 50, and then gender is G characters 2, right? So this is my procedure. So these all are like individual variables, so you will get to know like once we go into the Spotfire, then it will be easy for you. Even before to that, we will try and execute this procedure if it is working fine or not, right? So begin as and begin end, so it should be as begin end of the statement. This should be like this, and then I'm going to call this as insert into my table user registration. I can drop it here, values, and then I'm going to put this one as so I'm going to put fn, it should be in the order, and then at the rate of ln, and then at the rate of email, and then rate of pass gender G, right? So this should be my pretty much this should be my insert statement. So now I would like to, after doing this, so there should be some select. So once I load the data, I would like to see the data from this table. So I would like to call this as Tibco from user registration. So the reason these tables are not reading here, maybe it's because I need to refresh my cache. So you cache date. So let me run the parse. It's working fine. Let me execute this. It got executed successfully. So let's test how how to insert the data. First, from within the store procedure, we have something called execute procedure. Once the procedure is created, it will be stored under the store procedure folder. So here I can able to execute my store procedure. So I'm going to pass my first name as Vidya, and then I'm going to pass this as Sagar. I'll say Vidya Sagar dot Malla at outlook.com, something like this, and then password is just say Spotfire. I'm not giving any MDFA authentication, something like that, and then I'm going to give M. Let's see if I see any error. You see the store procedure has executed successfully, and then you are seeing the result from the store procedure because I selected, I made one insert statement, and then I wrote the select command here. So that's the reason. So one row has been affected, and then I can able to read my data. So let's try and run this within the Spotfire. Let me have this. Let me create. So I will create one more user from the Spotfire, right? So let's open the Spotfire. So how do you do this? Is initially we have to go through the information designer to create our store procedure within the Spotfire. Creating in the store procedure within the Spotfire means calling the store procedure which I have created. So let me expand this, and then my first thing I would like to do is information designer, and then I am going to create a procedure. So I have already created the data source connections. Hope you know how to create the data source connection. So all I need to do is click on this procedure. It is asking the procedure name. So this is my data connection, and this is where I have created my procedure. So you see this procedure with the gearbox symbol. So I'm just selecting that. So it's been selected. Make sure you put that as a query, and then you should be able to see, once you open your input parameter, you should be able to see all your parameters which you have created within the procedure, right? So that means which is passed, your procedure has passed within the Spotfire. That's the reason you are seeing all these things. Now what? So now, in order to test, so I'll give you two more options here. So in order to, there is a couple ways to test it. So initial test we will do is either we can execute this procedure from the Spotfire. So let's say I'll give you some first name called Raj, last name is Shekhar, and Raj123 at gmail.com, and then password he has just 3456, and then I'm going to give it as a mail. So I have to save this, so nothing is in my result as of now, so I'll just need to save this. So to save this, so where do you want me to save this? So let me save this here. And this new folder, I'm going to create another new folder, call this as procedures, and in this procedure I'm going to save this procedure as user sp_user registration. So this procedure is saved there. So I given the default values, just like when I executed the same within my SQL server. So I just passed the values from here. Let me run that. So something ran actually, I think. Okay, cool. So it ran successfully, and that information link, or the procedure output has been loaded into my Spotfire client, where you can see there are two rows. is showing it here. Let's see how it's been added. So first thing is, let me click on the data table properties. There I can see that this procedure has called into the data table properties, right? So now let's see what we are seeing here. So I'm not going to close this because I need this, so I'm just going to click the table. There you go there. So by default, the moment I entered the data into this as a default values, so it instantly inserted the data within the table, and that it brought the data back to you. So I can see that how many number of users has already there in my user registration table right now. But we need more than this. So how do we do that? So in this case, the simplest thing is that, so we are directly passing these default values. Instead of passing these default values, we have to create variables for the Spotfire. So the variables, these parameters what you're seeing, these parameters are for the SQL server, but we need to create another set of variables for the Spotfire. Those variables will be called into the document properties, and then we will be sending the data from those document properties to the parameters of the stored procedure. So let me show you how it will be done. So you should start with the question mark. So in Spotfire, you should start your variable with the question mark. In SQL, you should be calling your parameter with at symbol, right? So it's first name, so I'm going to give as f. I can give fn, or I can give first name, anything. Parameter can be named anything, l name, and email id, just to not get confused, and then password, and then gender. So these are my variables. So we have created for the Spotfire. I'm gonna save this, so it's got saved. The next thing I'm going to do is, I'm just gonna click on create information link, and then I'm going to call that procedure into my information link. So I just called it, and now I should be able to see those parameters which I have created. So right now you can't see any of these guys, right? But actually when you refresh this, you should be able to see the parameters. You see the parameters, these parameters will be, it is considering these are actually parameters here from the information link. You will not see the question mark here. The question mark will be here. So you will be assigning these guys to the document properties. I will show you those things, how it will work. So I'm going to save this information link as my il underscore sp underscore user registration. Cool. Okay, so this part is done. So we have this guy ready. So now first thing, I would like to add that information link here. This information log. So initially it's going to prompt you to enter the parameters values. This is for the testing, so to make sure all the values are being passed or not. So I would like to make this as a load or data on demand. I'll tell you in a second. So I just loaded this information link. So this information link I have added. So if I change this to this information link, so it gave me this information, right? So I just want to change the data here of the instead of store procedure, I would like to put my information link, right? So now what I would like to do is I would like to create a form. So I can create a form using the text area within the Spotfire. That is really easy. So I would recommend to, in case if you want to build a standard or form, so I would always recommend you guys to go with edit HTML. Make sure how to learn how to create the tables within the HTML and then put the forms within the HTML. But as of now, I'm going to just, it's a simple thing I would like to tell you because this is for the training purposes. So to make things much easier, so I'm just giving this using this one. First name, I would like to have my first name as input field, right? So input field, so you have to create this document properties. So you have multiple document properties, but form always need a place to enter the data. So I would like to call this input field. I'm calling this input property name as first name. So I'm just giving a data type as string. Okay, so I have this first name created, double enter last name, and then again I'm going to create one more input field. I'm going to call that as last name, again string data type, enter, and then email, and then I'm going to insert this one as input, new email, and then we would like to, you see this here, the length of the first name and the email or last name. So this is not like completely, the length of these guys are varying, so that's why there is a, this guys has moved this side, the margin is not straight, it's not looking that good, it's going to be ugly. That's why I wanted you to use the HTML table, which will make things clear. So again, one more input. So first name, last name, email, it should be password, PSSWRD, and then string, and then I would like to give as a password. Come on. So I'm trying to make this thing bits normal, not much faster, because I want everyone to understand what I'm trying to do here. So have some patience. Gender. So in gender, right, I can create something like, I don't want the users to enter M or F. Instead of that, I'm going to predefine the values as M or F in a drop down, so your user can able to select the values from the drop down. So here I am going to use a drop down list here, and then I'm going to call this drop down list document property as gender. So this is how it is gonna work. So if I create this document property, and okay, so yes, so yeah, this should work like this. So document property, so I'm going to create the display as male, the value should be will enter as male, display will show it as male on female, but the moment he selects and submits the data in the table, it should enter a value as female, M or F, right? So that's what I want to do. Come on. So the moment I save this button, you should be able to see the form here, and I would like to create a button, of course. So right, so this button should able to submit my data into the database. So this button is I'll call this, so I'm going to write a one line of Python scripting here, because then that time it's just a refresh table. So once the table got refreshed, so data will be submitted. So it's called, what is submit button. This submit button script, new script, I'll call this as, it's going to user registration, right? So it's going to insert the data. Insert data. So I'm just giving the script like this. So I have to give a table name, let's say insert I table dot resh. So I have, this is my script variable, so I have to define this what table has to be refreshed. So that's why I have to give in this table variable here, adding this I table. So I just want this information link has to be refreshed. So the moment I hit the run, so the information link will run, and then it will submit the data whatever we have selected within the document properties, right? Let me test that to see if this piece of line is right or not, right? There is no errors. You can see the error if there is something like that, so I don't see any error. And now click OK. So I have the submit button here. I'm going to save this. The moment I save this, so you see this cool it's not cool, but it's an ugly form, ugly looking form, right? So but that's not our priority as of now, but I would like to see how this data will be sending, right? So what I can do now is I'm going to click on the data tables, and then I'm going to choose this information link, and then I have to select the settings here. You see this type of data, so this is where the data on demand will comes into the picture. So you have to choose the data on demand, and then click everything, uncheck everything, load automatically allows checking, just uncheck those guys, and then you have to define your document properties to each of these parameters initially you defined within your information link, right? So when you click on this property, so there are multiple values, again input forms. So since you created your properties, document properties, you have to define those properties here. So click on this property and then select. So initially it is asking for email ID. Yeah, click on that email ID. Cool. Okay. And then define a first name. I have to choose my property first name. I'm gonna do this, repeat this a bit faster. So gender, what is the last name, right? Last name, just put it across, gender, last name, and then password. Click OK. Cool. So I'm gonna leave this as of now. Let me see. Let me update some data here. Shirish Kumar. Password. So he's a chosen male, so he can able to choose whatever data here. Let me see if I submit what will happen. Oh, data has been submitted. Okay, I don't know, let me go and check in the database now. What should I do here? What I would like to do is just select star from my user registration table. Ooh, there is a guy. I just entered this guy from this one. Now the data has been entered. That is a cool stuff, right? So now you are getting this data. So what I can do, what I would like to do is I would like to delete these test data from this table already, because it makes no sense. This is for the testing purposes. So delete from, quickly delete from, you know, okay, let me delete as of now. Where ID in, take out 3, 4, 5, right? Execute. 3 rows has been affected, and we have three cool people registered into our website from the Spotfire, which is really cool, right? All right, now we would like to see the data. Now how? And also I don't want the store procedure anymore. So I'm just into my spot. This guy, I just only want this information link. So what I would like to do here is I would like to call that as a table, and ah, my god, my Spotfire client has been crashed. I didn't save this shit. Ah, come on. So yeah, guys. So I hope. So the only thing you need to do now is create one more information link, and try to access this table. It's just accessing the table, and then just create a button, refresh button, and then for that specific table. So the moment you submit the form, and then you will be having another table, and put a refresh button or a reload button or view the data or something like that. Just give the name to the button and hit it, and it's gonna give you this result output for these three records. So yeah, guys, so let me know if you have any questions, and wish you a happy Spotfire learning. Thank you. See you. Bye.